Hello, everyone. Today, in this moment, we gather to explore something that causes much of our suffering. We live our lives surrounded by people, family, friends, colleagues, neighbors, and so often we find ourselves frustrated, disappointed, exhausted. Why? Because they are not who we want them to be. The story we will walk through together today is about this very struggle. It is about the deep wisdom of seeing things as they are, about the freedom that comes when we stop trying to change others and start accepting reality. Close your eyes for a moment. Take a slow, deep breath. Now think of someone in your life who frustrates you, someone you wish would change, someone you have tried again and again to fix, to mold, to transform. Feel the weight of that effort. Feel the exhaustion it brings. Now ask yourself this question. Has it worked? After all your efforts, all your words, all your energy spent trying to change them, are they different? Or are you simply more tired? There was once a gardener who planted a seed. He watered it every day, gave it sunlight, tended to it with care. But as the plant grew, he became disappointed. It was not the flower he had imagined. The petals were the wrong color. The shape was not quite right. The fragrance was too subtle. So he began to try to change it. He trimmed the leaves differently. He adjusted the soil. He moved it to different spots in the garden, hoping the new location would transform it into what he wanted. But the plant remained what it was. And slowly, under all this manipulation, it began to wither. One day, a wise woman visited the garden. She saw the gardener's frustration and asked him a simple question. What kind of seed did you plant? The gardener paused. He had planted a daisy seed. The wise woman smiled gently. Then why do you expect it to become a rose? The gardener stood in silence. He had spent so much energy trying to change the nature of the plant that he had forgotten a simple truth. A daisy can only be a daisy. It cannot become a rose, no matter how much you wish it, no matter how much you try to force it. This is the wisdom we have lost. We plant daisies and expect roses. We meet people exactly as they are, and then spend our lives trying to make them into someone else, someone who fits our expectations, someone who behaves the way we think they should, someone who loves the way we want to be loved. And in this effort, we create suffering for them and for ourselves. Think about your relationships. How many times have you thought, if only they would change this one thing, everything would be perfect? If only my partner would be more attentive. If only my child would be more responsible. If only my friend would be more reliable. If only my parent would understand me better. If only, if only, if only. These two words contain so much suffering. They contain the gap between what is and what we wish would be. And the wider that gap, the more we suffer. But here's the truth that will set you free. People are who they are, not who you want them to be, not who you think they should be, not who they could be if only they tried harder. They are exactly who they are in this moment. This does not mean people cannot grow. This does not mean people cannot change. But here is the crucial difference. People change when they are ready, not when you are ready. People transform from their own inner motivation, not from your external pressure. There was a father who had a son. The son was quiet, gentle, loved to paint and read poetry. But the father wanted a different son. He wanted a son who played sports, who was loud and confident, who would take over the family business one day. So the father pushed. He signed his son up for every sport. He criticized the painting. He called the poetry a waste of time. He told his son, "You need to toughen up. You need to be more like other boys. You need to change." The son tried. He tried to become who his father wanted, but it felt like wearing clothes that did not fit. He felt like a stranger to himself. And slowly, the light in his eyes dimmed. The joy left his face. He became anxious, depressed, lost. One day, The father found his son crying, surrounded by torn paintings. The boy looked up and said, "I cannot be who you want me to be, Father. I have tried and tried, but I am not that person. I am sorry I disappoint you." In that moment, the father's heart broke, not because his son was weak, but because he finally saw what his expectations had done. He had been so focused on changing his son that he had never truly seen him. He had loved an imaginary son, a phantom, while the real boy stood invisible before him. The father knelt down and held his son, and he whispered, "I am sorry. I have been trying to turn a daisy into a rose, but you are perfect as you are. I will learn to see the real you." From that day forward, their relationship transformed, not because the son changed, but because the father stopped trying to change him. The father learned to see his son as he truly was, and in that seeing, in that acceptance, love flowed freely again. This is the wisdom we must learn, to see people as they are, not as we wish they were, not as we think they should be, but as they actually are, in all their imperfect, beautiful, unique reality. When you meet someone, you meet their entire history. You meet the child they were, shaped by experiences you never witnessed. You meet the wounds they carry, the fears they hide, the dreams they protect. You meet a person who is formed by forces beyond your understanding and beyond your control. How can you change that? How can you undo years of shaping, years of experiences, years of becoming? You cannot. And the moment you try, you create conflict, you create resistance, you create suffering. There was a couple who loved each other deeply, but they fought constantly. She wanted him to be more emotional, more expressive. He wanted her to be more logical, more calm. She would say, "Why can't you just share your feelings?" He would say, "Why do you have to be so emotional about everything?" Neither was wrong, neither was right. They were simply different. But instead of accepting those differences, they tried to change each other. Every conversation became a battle. Every interaction became an opportunity to criticize, to correct, to push the other person toward change. One day, exhausted from fighting, they sat in silence. And in that silence, something shifted. The wife looked at her husband and really saw him for the first time in years. She saw a man who showed love through actions, not words, who felt deeply but expressed differently, who was exactly who he had always been. The husband looked at his wife and really saw her. He saw a woman whose emotions were not weakness but strength, whose expressiveness was not drama but authenticity, who was exactly who she had always been. They both spoke at the same time. "I am sorry I tried to change you." And in that moment, the war ended. Not because either changed, but because both stopped trying to change the other. They stopped fighting reality. They stopped resisting what is. This is the path to peace in relationships. Acceptance, not resignation, not giving up, but true acceptance. Seeing clearly, seeing without the filter of your expectations, seeing without the demand that reality be different. When you see things as they are, something miraculous happens. The struggle ends, the frustration dissolves, the exhaustion lifts, because you are no longer carrying the impossible burden of trying to control what cannot be controlled. You cannot control other people. You cannot control their thoughts, their feelings, their choices, their nature. The only thing you can control is yourself, your own reactions, your own expectations, your own acceptance. This does not mean you must tolerate harmful behavior. This does not mean you cannot have boundaries. If someone's behavior is truly damaging, you can remove yourself from the situation. You can protect yourself. But even then, you do not need to try to change them. You simply need to respond to reality as it is. A woman had a mother who was critical, always finding fault, never satisfied. The daughter spent years trying to change her mother. She explained how the criticism hurt. She asked her mother to be more positive. She tried being the perfect daughter, hoping that would finally earn approval. Nothing worked. Her mother remained critical, and the daughter remained hurt, frustrated, exhausted. One day, the daughter had a realization. My mother is who she is. She was raised by critical parents. She learned to show love through correction, not praise. This is her nature, formed over 70 years. I cannot change her. I will never change her. But I can change how I respond. From that day, when her mother criticized, the daughter heard it differently. She understood it was not really about her. It was her mother's pattern, her mother's way of relating, her mother's limitation. The daughter could still love her mother without needing her mother to be different. She set boundaries. She limited the time they spent together. She protected her own peace. But she stopped trying to change her mother. And in that release, she found freedom. Not because the situation changed, but because her relationship with the situation changed. This is the wisdom. You cannot change others, but you can change how you see them, how you respond to them, how you relate to them. When you stop trying to change someone, something beautiful happens. They feel it. They feel the release of your pressure, your judgment, your expectations. And paradoxically, in that space of acceptance, they often begin to grow, not because you demanded it, but because they finally have room to breathe. A teacher once said, "If you want a flower to bloom, you do not pull on its petals. You give it water, sunlight, good soil. You create the conditions for growth. But the blooming itself is the flower's choice, the flower's timing, the flower's nature." The same is true with people. You cannot force growth. You cannot force change. But you can create conditions. You can offer love. You can offer understanding. You can offer acceptance. And in those conditions, people often transform in their own way, in their own time. But even if they do not transform, you can still be free. You can still be at peace. Because your peace does not depend on them changing. Your peace depends on you accepting reality as it is. Think about the people in your life right now, the ones who frustrate you, the ones you wish would change. What if you stopped? What if you simply saw them exactly as they are? What if you released the burden of trying to fix them, mold them, improve them? How would that feel? Lighter? Freer? More peaceful? This does not mean you stop caring. This does not mean you become cold or distant. In fact, the opposite is true. When you stop trying to change someone, you can finally, truly see them. And in that seeing, real connection becomes possible. When you are not busy trying to fix someone, you can simply be with them. When you are not focused on what is wrong with them, you can appreciate what is right. When you are not fighting their nature, you can understand their heart. There was an elderly couple. They had been married for 50 years. Someone asked them the secret to their long marriage. The husband smiled and said, "Early on, I made a list of 10 things about my wife that I wanted to change. Then I decided to never look at that list again. Instead, I made a new list. 10 things about my wife that I loved exactly as they were." The wife laughed and said, "I did the same. I stopped trying to make him into the husband I imagined and started loving the husband I had." This is the secret, not just in marriage, in all relationships. Stop trying to change people into who you want them to be. Start seeing who they actually are. Your child is not you. They have their own nature, their own path, their own purpose. You can guide, you can support, but you cannot make them into a copy of yourself or an extension of your unfulfilled dreams. Your partner is not your creation project. They are a whole person who existed before you met them and will continue to exist with their own essence. You can grow together, but you cannot reshape them into your ideal. Your parents are not your enemies. They are imperfect humans who did their best with the tools they had. You can heal from wounds they caused, but you cannot go back and change who they were. Your friends are not your possessions. They will disappoint you sometimes. They will be different from you, and that is not wrong. That is simply reality. When you truly understand this, when you truly accept this, you experience a profound freedom. The freedom from the exhausting work of trying to control the uncontrollable. The freedom from constant disappointment when people do not meet your expectations. The freedom from the resentment that builds when your efforts to change someone fail. This wisdom is ancient. It has been taught in many ways across many traditions. Buddhists call it seeing things as they are, without delusion. Stoics call it distinguishing between what you can control and what you cannot. Taoists call it flowing with the nature of things, rather than resisting. But in our modern world, we have forgotten this wisdom. We've been taught that we can have anything we want if we just try hard enough. That includes having the people we want. So we try. We push. We manipulate. We criticize. We demand. And we suffer. The path out of suffering is acceptance. True acceptance. Not the bitter resignation that says, "Fine, I give up. Nothing matters anyway." But the wise acceptance that says, "This is reality. This is what is true. This is who this person actually is." From that acceptance, you can make clear choices. Do I want this relationship as it actually is? Not as I hope it will become. Not as it could be, if only they changed. But as it is right now. If yes, then love them as they are. Appreciate them as they are. Stop waiting for change and start living in the present reality. If no, then you can leave. You can create distance. You can protect yourself. But even in leaving, you do not need bitterness or resentment. You can simply acknowledge that this person and this relationship are not right for you as they are. And that is okay. There is no need to make them wrong. They are simply who they are. This applies to everyone. Your difficult coworker, your critical family member, your unreliable friend, your distant partner. They are who they are. You do not have to keep them in your life, but you also do not have to try to change them. Letting go of the need to change others is one of the most liberating things you can do. It lifts a massive weight from your shoulders. It ends countless conflicts. It opens space for genuine connection. When you stop trying to change your mother, you might finally hear the love beneath her criticism. When you stop trying to change your partner, you might finally see the ways they do show love, even if not the way you imagined. When you stop trying to change your child, you might finally discover who they truly are meant to be. This does not happen instantly. You have probably spent years, maybe decades, trying to change certain people. That pattern will not disappear overnight, but you can begin today, right now. In this moment, choose one person, just one. Someone you have been trying to change, and make a decision. I will stop. I will see this person as they are. I will accept this reality. I will release my expectations. Notice what happens. Notice the relief. Notice the space that opens up. Notice how your relationship begins to shift. Not because they changed, but because you stopped demanding change. Practice this every day. When you feel frustration rising because someone is not who you want them to be, pause. Breathe. Remind yourself this person is exactly who they are. I cannot change them. I can only change how I respond. Over time, this practice will transform your life. Your relationships will become easier. Your heart will become lighter. Your mind will become more peaceful. You will stop banging your head against walls that will never move. You will stop shouting into voids that will never answer back the way you want. You will stop trying to fill cups that have holes in the bottom. Instead, you will learn to work with reality, to dance with what is, to find peace not in how you wish things were, but in how things actually are. This is true wisdom. This is true freedom. This is the path to peace. So today, make this commitment. I will stop trying to change others. I will practice seeing things as they are. I will accept reality. And in that acceptance, I will find freedom. This does not mean you become passive. You can still take action where action is appropriate. You can still set boundaries. You can still make changes in your own life. But you release the impossible burden of trying to control other people's natures. You let the daisy be a daisy. You let the rose be a rose. And you appreciate each for exactly what it is. Breathe deeply. Feel the relief of this truth. Feel the weight lifting from your shoulders. Feel the peace that comes with acceptance. You are free. Free from the exhausting work of trying to reshape the world to fit your expectations. Free to see reality clearly. Free to love people as they are, not as you wish they were. This freedom is available to you right now. Not someday when everyone changes. Not in some future when the world finally meets your standards. But now, in this moment, when you choose to see things as they are. Thank you.